Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I want to review my book that I have read, which is The Adventure of Dying Detective. This is one of 56 Sherlock Holmes short stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This book originally published in 1913. The main character in this book, firstly, is Sherlock Holmes, who is the professional investigator. Second is Mrs. Hudson as a home housekeeper, and then Dr. Watson as a doctor. Mr. Coverton Smith also same role with Dr. Watson, and lastly Inspector Morton as an investigator. I want to explain about synopsis of this book. In November, Mrs. Hudson came to Dr. Watson's house and he to help Mr. Sherlock Holmes, who was fall sick. Holmes told that he was suffering the tropical disease from Sumatra. Mr. Sherlock Holmes thought that only one can cure his disease, who is Mr. Coverton Smith. After heard the story, Dr. Watson went to Mr. Smith's house. At the outside of Holmes' apartment, he met Inspector Morton. Dr. Watson arrived early than Mr. Smith at Holmes' apartment, and then he hid behind headboard of Holmes' bed. And suddenly, Mr. Smith came to Holmes' room, and then Holmes told that he was suffering tropical disease from Sumatra. Believe that Mr. Holmes is dying. Mr. Smith admit that he was killed his own nephews named Victor Savage. And then Mr. Sherlock Holmes asked Mr. Smith to turn up the gas light. Suddenly, Inspector Morton and the other policemen came into the room, and at the same time, Dr. Watson came out from his hiding. And at the end of this story, Mr. Smith was arrested because he murdered his own nephew and tried to kill Mr. Sherlock Holmes. In my opinion, I think this book is very good because firstly, it stories about how detective work. As we can see that all detective in this world can do anything in order to accomplish his mission. Second is about different timeline. For example, nowadays we just tracking the criminal use the modern technology. For example, like CCTV and DNA. And lastly, when we read this book, it can bring us to imagine about classic fashions. So basically, this story end like this. So if there will have any new sequence about Mr. Sherlock Holmes story, I think maybe Sherlock Holmes will get reward after accomplish this mission, and his capability in investigation will be used in order to settle down other case. I really love to read this book than the other Sherlock Holmes sequence written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. They have 3 issues in this book. Firstly is about Mr. Sherlock Holmes fake his illness by not taking any drink and eat for 3 days. I think I'm not ready to do this. Have you experienced this before? Second is about Mr. Culberton Smith, that admit he was killed his own nephews named Victor Savage. Uh, how come you dare to kill your own family member? I think I cannot to do this. It's terrible. Sounds terrible. And lastly, about Dr. Watson, who keeps silent when Mr. Sherlock Holmes look down about his capability in cure patient. How about you? Have you experienced this? Can you imagine someone who is not in your field told like that to you? What's about your reaction? From this story, there are three themes. Firstly, is about deception. For example, Holmes used deceptive ways in order to accomplish his mission by fake his illness. Second is about revenge. Mr. Smith sent an inventory box to Mr. Sherlock Holmes. The box function when someone opened that box, it can the spring came out and can spill the blood of someone. By that, it will receive Coolie disease. The last theme is about respect. Inspector Morton very respect to Master Sherlock Holmes because he can do everything in order to uh, in order to complete his mission. In a nutshell, this book is very good and I will recommend this to my friend Abdul Qayyum. I guarantee he will like to read this book and feel respect to Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I think that's all from me. Hope everyone enjoy this review books and I hope everyone feel eager to read this book. See you next time. Bye.